talk show is brought to you by Health Plans, your Medicare plans, insurance solutions, and resource agency. We have a variety of plans and products that fit your needs, benefit requirements, and budget, with many low or no-cost premium plans, zero co-pays, and much more. Our licensed benefits advisor's priority is your health and well-being. Call us today and book your no-obligation consultation. 1-929-367-5269. Coming up next is Sales World.
Folks, welcome back to the Sales World channel, iHealth Radio, the iHealth channel, the ENBC network. So a lot of places, a lot of feeds where this show is going to be broadcasting, the radio, the podcast, you name it. And today I have a guest that is usual now. He's been with us a few times, and he's delivered a lot of good insights and information to our audiences. And with me today, Tom Basey from Basey Insurance. And we've talked about different types of insurance. We've talked about Medicare, disability, life, a little bit of everything. We've covered a lot of grounds. And something that came up in a previous show was just the job world or the employment opportunities that come with the insurance space. And him specifically, Tom, has been this is his second career path, right?
That's
so first things first, Tom, welcome back. It's great to see you again. And I think we're going to have a great show today, and we might have the opportunity to drag and attract some people into our world here. So let's see if we can help some people make a transition or at least open up to a new opportunity.
Great. It's great to see you again. I always have a great time with you. So it's great to be here. I'm looking forward to our conversation.
All right. Well, again, so Tom, you're not new to us, and we've covered. You're an expert in insurance. Although, again, your time span is really short, in this particular world. But in the first show we had, you covered how you were doing something different, and then ultimately you kind of moved away from that and joined this world of insurance. Mm-hmm. And you and I, we talked briefly about the Great Resignation and the trends that happened post-pandemic. A lot of people have almost tried to reevaluate their situation and their life and their economics and stuff. And some people are transiting to different, paths. And there is a big career path here and great opportunity. So Tom, let's talk about your experience, first of all. How, I know we touched base on it a little bit, on the first show, but let's just go back to that and then we can take it from there.
Agreed. So I think that's important. So to your point, in a certain way, I was the precursor to the Great Resignation. COVID didn't force it, but I worked in corporate America for a long time, and it was great for me. I liked it. But we can spend multiple episodes on the pros and cons of that. But it was great. But bottom line is, I wanted out. Candidly, part of mine was just the commute. I was doing an hour commute. I didn't want to do that anymore. I was actually pursuing education. I had actually taken a bunch of coursework. In fact, I even had my student teaching was the last thing I even had to sign up for that. When some form of insurance fell into my lap. I was actually I was a customer beforehand. I actually bought a cancer policy myself, but when it fell into my lap, so I was ready to go do this. And candidly, I feel bad for teachers. I love teachers. My mom was a teacher, my wife's a teacher, and we need teachers, but my wife wasn't on board with that plan. And so this is an alternative. So certainly if you want to do education, we need education. I think that's something to consider. But education, just like corporate America, for me personally, there's this thing about my schedule, my time. So this second career for me was I wanted to define when I was going to do that. And so I didn't like the commute. This fell into my lap. And so really it kind of was a combination of me and learning a little about insurance, liking the value that it added, and wanted to have my own time. So I started the Great Resignation a year or two before COVID. So I'm really 4 years in now. That's what I'll say about that.
All right. Well, thanks for sharing that, Tom. And you've addressed a few things already, a few elements that we will dissect throughout the show today. One being commute. A lot of us actually, especially if you don't live in a metropolitan area, you're kind of suburban, you will have to commute somewhere. Unless you work for a local business or whatever, chances are if you're going to a corporate, you're going to go where the corporate hubs are, and they're typically in a metropolitan setting, and you have to commute back and forth. I can tell you, I do believe, and I understand your feeling because I had done that myself. There were two occasions. Well, first of all my life I've been working in corporate, more or less, and I've had business on the side. I still do, but throughout this, I've always had to commute somewhere, right? Through whether using common transportation or my own vehicle. A lot of times I use mine because I move around. Let's say in New York City, I do a lot of moving around. Now, at 2 occasions personally, I had to literally go about 3 hours each way to go to work. And I did that for one of the jobs. I did that for about almost 5 years. That was brutal. I mean, 3 hours. And I remember one storm. I mean, obviously we get a lot of snow sometimes in the winter. And one time I got caught up in a very bad snowstorm. And it took me 7 hours door to door. And mind you, I'm about 75 miles from that office, from my house to that office. And it took me that long, 7 hours. And, when you establish something in your mind and start realizing the value of time and how much of it you have left in your life, sometimes we don't ask that question, but quality of time, spending time appropriately, not wasting it is a big thing. So that was the first one. Then I had another opportunity, and now I was going the opposite direction from Jersey to New York, and now Jersey to Pennsylvania. And that was a hike. It was about 2 hours each way. And so, a couple of years back, I said, enough. That's it. I'm not doing this. And I've been also building my own businesses. So eventually, I can get the freedom. So the key here is, the commute part is a big, component to a lot of people. We spend at least a couple hours each way. I don't care if you're in New York. I mean, it doesn't matter where you are. You're at least going to get into a train or a bus or some sort of transportation, or get into a traffic. If you're in the West Coast, similar, large cities, about the same. Chicago, I don't care, Miami, you're going to get into traffic. And in your case, Texas, right? So that's also big. So the bottom line is, commute can be taking a lot of time. You can certainly do more by having less commute time, do the work, and eventually enjoy your family and whatever else activities you can. I mean, yeah, you can listen to radio, the podcast, you can do other things. But just sitting there is not healthy for you, by the way. Just, the amount of sitting that we do in commuting is not good. So that's the first thing. So that could be a good motivation for someone to start thinking, this is not for me. And a lot of people actually talking about the Great Resignation post-pandemic. A lot of people have gotten the concept of Zoom and the concept of remote work. And they're like, this is working. A lot of companies are hip to it too. And they figured out but we can save the overhead, and now staff is there now. The accountability factor is still there, and we have to figure it out. And some companies were able to make it and figure out how to really best get the best from their staff, and some are still struggling with that. But so that was the first element that you've covered, which is the commute part, and I love it. The other thing is talking about, yes, education, corporate is all good. You can make money and stuff, but now this is your own business. So that's another big deal. I mean, I used to, I still do in trainings, and I used to also train real estate agents through a school that they owned. And one thing that I've always asked, the question is, if we were to give you, a company or myself, $1 million, would you start a business? 9 out of 10 people say, yes, I'll start a business. Or the flip question would be like, would you start, a business if you had money? Or the other question would be like, how many of you would love to start a business? And most people say yes. And I say well, why didn't you? Well, it's money. So if you were given $1 million right now, would you start a business? Everybody raises their hand. Yes, sure. I can. Mm-hmm. Why? Well, I'll become my own boss. I can set up my own hours. I can do this, which you alluded to. You can book your stuff in Calendly. You know exactly where to work, where not to work. You can organize differently, and you have a set of freedom. Freedom, I think, is what we all look for. Money is great. Don't get me wrong. There is no one in this world that does not love money. There's 2 ways to love money. It's either love it in your hand or live in your heart. If it's in your heart, it's a bad thing because it's a disease, right? If it's in your hand, you can control it. Now, the balance between those 2 things can be challenging, and people have to understand how to use money properly. And success doesn't mean necessarily money, but money is a tool, right? It's something that can help you to get to your ends, right? To whatever your dreams. But the main thing I think that everybody works for is the ability to afford certain things. And the best thing you can afford is you can earn back your time and your freedom to do the things you love, and not to take a vacation. Actually, it's funny. I saw a meme the other day. I think I posted it yesterday or this morning. And it says, I need a life where I don't have to take a vacation from, a life that I don't have to take a vacation from. Mm-hmm. It resonated well with me because I understand it. It's not that you're not going to work. Rich people still work. People that are wealthy and successful, they still work, but their work level is different and they get to enjoy life. Life becomes enjoyable a lot more than us. In average, we just go up, get up, go in, commute, go to the work, do this, do that, and come back home. You're stressed. You're expecting a Friday to come in, TGIF. Weekend comes out too short. Monday, oh my God. And that's the rat race. That's the routine. Many people have had different shows that we talked about this, where people get a little, tired of this. And over the years, it takes a toll on you, right? But one way is, to your point, discovering new ways, new career paths, new opportunities where you can set targets financially, set targets of freedom, time, space, where you can be free. Now, in the insurance world, you have different angles. You can still work in corporate and doing insurance and have some sort of flexibility, or you can completely become independent and either work, under some group or some agency, or you can even start your own agency. Now, Tom, you have started your own agency, right? Right off the bat?
Correct. Well, it wasn't right off the bat. Actually, I started with somebody, but I quickly migrated to it. So now, yes, I'm independent.
Good. Well, yeah, Basey Insurance. but yeah. So let's talk about that. The steps that you had to take to, first of all, why insurance specific? I know it fell into your lap through the fact that you bought this.
Yeah, I'd like to make a couple of remarks based on what you said. So everybody's thought about doing businesses, okay? And there's two things that I like to remark about this industry that I think are unique, that are compelling. So number one, everybody loves food. Some people want to do a restaurant. That is hard work. In fact, I've about decided that's about the hardest thing, because yes, everybody knows location is very important. So you got to get the right thing. You have to get, just like every industry, if you're going to make a product X, you got to get your raw material in. You got to produce it. There's the operations and get it out. But restaurant is so hard because you've got to get your raw materials in. And then there's a chef. You change anything and the customer, there's an expectation thing. And you're limited. You can only grow the number of chairs until you move. So, and you were talking about money. It's big money. It's capital. So multiple things. So I'm compare and contrast this to the restaurant industry, but you could use anything else, right? They're franchise for restaurants, but you could use, you come up with a clever product. People periodically think of something like the thing where you hang a purse off the table. I didn't see that for when someone came up. That was great idea. The guy made that, whoever it was. But my point is, they have certain challenges that this industry simply doesn't have. One, there's relatively low barriers to entry. To your point, you don't have to. These days, COVID also helped. It helped not only me pivot, but even my customers became more comfortable with dialoguing via Zoom and even enrolling you. So you can do an illustration, enroll someone. That made it actually easier for me in a certain way once everybody got used to that. But my point is, I don't have to have a brick and mortar. And then to do this, my inventory, I don't have a supply chain issue. My supplies are, my raw material, are contracts that are available from big major carriers, and they're available electronically. So I really like the fact that this industry has low barriers to entry and no problems with that. And so to your question, well, you have to get a license in your home state. You got to get that. And typically there's got to be a company involved that will do that. But yeah, you got to go and study for an exam and take an exam. It can't be that hard because plenty of people pass it. Now, I've heard some stories lately of people that did it 6 times. They're passionate about it and they did it, but I passed it the first time. Okay, so you take that exam. Well, that's great. Now you're appointed. I was helping a cousin of mine who got in the business recently. And I showed him, here's your state number now. And he's actually got a national number because you can move into other states or for relatively low cost. That's the thing. You can pay a non-resident license fee and get on there. So I personally am only in 8 states at this point. I think you're a lot more, but that's the thing. You can do that. So you start in your home state, you have the licenses, and then one or more carriers, whatever solutions you're going to offer, you get appointed with those guys. Big life insurance company X, big life insurance company Y. And to get appointed with them, you kind of show them your license. You have to have an E&O insurance, which is errors and omissions. Just make sure somehow you make a mistake on a policy. You've got some coverage. Every agent has that. You show that to them. You study their products. Hey, these are our term life products. We have 10, 20, 30 year. Here's our whole life or universal life, whatever solutions they have. And you learn those things, learn the name of them. Here's our tool, how you can log in there. My point is, once you take their training, then you can get appointed with them and they'll say, okay, you're ready to sell. You can actually represent those. And so as an independent guy, I do that with multiple carriers because I like to be able to shop. You kind of hinted at this. There's some people that go to work for one of those carriers, and that's great. And there's certain advantages they have, but they can only offer the solutions that one carrier has. As the independent guy, I go and get appointed with different carriers. That way I can kind of size it. I like to right size it for clients. That's what I'll say about that.
Well, thanks, Tom. So you hit on another major factor, and we'll talk about the requirements here. But the other one was, to your point, when I asked the question about business, everybody is excited, but money, right, is the key. Mm-hmm. And in a lot of folks, they are afraid to start their business. Now, I have this rule that I teach, when I, just from leadership perspective, that I never work for a company. I do work for corporate. I did work for corporate. I still work for corporate. I do consulting. I do different things. I have my own businesses, but I never work for anyone. So I always work for me and for my family. And so the way I approach this is very simple. And by the way, if you listen to watch, it doesn't matter what part of the world you're in. If you use this concept, your life becomes different. And I'll tell you how. First things first. You have to use the corporation, whoever you're working for. This is for those that are working right now in corporate. And even when you decide to move on, it's still going to be for you, right? And your own. But when you use somebody's, resources, right? The corporation becomes your financial back end, or your capital, or your compensation, whatever they're paying you. To me, that's basically their investment. You are working, you are the manager, you are the leader, you are the CEO of You Inc. You're doing everything for yourself. You're marketing yourself, you're doing all stuff. You're using the resources of any company, and you're delivering a certain, production or productivity or performance. So that's how you look. So if you look at it this way, you work for a company, the company actually is providing the resources for you, you're doing the work. If you start using that concept, you become your owner, right? And you determine whether you stay in the company or don't stay in the company. And you're either learning from that company while you're giving them something in exchange, or you're actually teaching that company and just making extra money, and you're doing stuff. Maybe you can moonlight there and invest your money in, stock, whatever, or even eventually get prepared to move to a transition. So that's one way to look at it. So when you start working for yourself, okay, and if you start, like I had stated right now, all your concept should always be you and your family. Because at the end of the day, I don't care who you work for, you can be dismissed any given day, especially in corporate. Unfortunately, it's the reality of things. Most of the states are stay at will. You walk, one day and say, we don't like you, have a good day. And we're not talking about, as long as it's not racism, discrimination, harassment, one of those things, they can dismiss you any given day, right? So it doesn't matter where you work. Something is off. Sorry, we'll lay off the team. We're cutting off this department, blah, blah, blah. Things happen all the time. I've been in a position where I had no choice. Either in one of previous experience, and actually that's what got me to start my own agency 7 years ago. I was on vacation. I came back. I got called into the office, the CEO, and I was the chief sales marketing officer. So I'm the number 2 there, or number 3, depends on how you look at it. But the fact of the matter, I get a call, corporate is shutting down. That's it. Call everybody. We out. When? Today. That was it. So this stuff can happen. By the way, I'm giving you a good example of me personally. And this is your dream job. You have the highest pay, whatever, you're doing good. And then all of a sudden you come in and you're like, oops, this is happening. So I didn't dwell about it. Basically, the next day we started an agency, and that's it. That's how it is. And we moved and transited and did exactly what Tom did. And we worked, nice about it, and we build it over the years. How? Now, that's one thing. So the transition is key. But if you're going to move into this business, it is not going to cost you a lot. As a matter of fact, the investment in the insurance as an individual producer, probably 300, 400 max. Okay, that's it. I mean, that's less than a credit in college if you wanted to pay. And I'm not dismissing college education or anything, but when you think about it, that's actually a fraction of what you pay for one term, and one credit. And so to your point, Tom, the license, okay, you have options. If you're going to do live accident and health, you have combinations of those, depends on what products you want to sell. Most of the companies, they will give you the opportunity to do the larger one, which is the live accident and health. Now you can do PNC and other products of insurance, and those are different licenses. But to your point, it's a number of hours you would take in a certified school, accredited school that is by the state, whatever state you're in. And then ultimately, you get a state exam, you pass the exam, you pay some fees, you have a license. Now, that license is good. For live, the test is not that difficult, but it's tricky. So you got to prepare properly and stuff. So yes, not everybody passes it the first time. Tom is a lucky one. I actually did pass it the first time, but some people actually do struggle for the first second. Depends on your English, depends on a lot of things, because Not everybody is a good test taker, and it's sometimes very complex. Some people do separate the tests, so they do life separate and they do accident health separate, so they don't overwhelm themselves while they're studying and building that. Especially if you're new to this, because you're going to be hit with a lot of new concepts. It's a lot of stuff. I mean, you mentioned whole, term, universal, this, that, and when you start diving into those, plus you get into the insurance world, it gets a little trickier. So whatever floats your boat, right? You have options. Find the easy path to get in first. You can start with one license type and then go to the next one. Another thing you mentioned, Tom, is that yes, there are options. You can work for a carrier directly as a captive. And yes, you will produce, but you will be limited to that product line. So whatever that product that carrier has to offer is the only thing you can sell. And so by being an independent or a broker, you will have the capability to actually sell all different products. As a matter of fact, you can certify with as many carriers that are available in your state, and that's just in the state. Now, to Tom's point, you can have multiple states, even 50 states if you wanted to. Some actually agents do have that. And all you do is you have your state residency, like the actual way you actually reside in. That's your main license. And then the non-resident licenses across all the other states that you want to expand to. And then the products now you start certifying by each carrier that's in that service area. So you're in Texas, there are 5 plans that are selling, certain products and you want to sell them. The next state over, you have 6 products, you get 6 carriers, you move on and so on. Now you build yourself a nice little portfolio of products and you can really just, and by the way, there's almost a guarantee you walk out with a policy when you have these options. So because technically, there's no bias, there's no steering to one product line or one particular carrier. You talk to someone, I'm talking to Tom. Hey, Tom, tell me what you need. I need this, I need X, Y, Z. Well, I got, in your service area, in your zip code, these are the products I have. These are the 2 that makes the most sense to what you just stated. Let's see how they play for you. How does it sound? Good. The price, cost, whatever. Now you look at the evaluations, what's going to work for them. You give them the product that they want, they're going to walk away. They're shopping, they need one. Doesn't matter, who's going to sell them. You just have to be available in front of them. That's where prospecting comes in and your sales skills come in. But that's the transition, right? So now you are an independent person. You got your license, you invested in yourself, like I said, 300 to 400 tops, that's a big number. That includes your school, your license fees, and some in the insurance world, especially Medicare, you might have to have like an AHIP certification, whatever the case may be. Again, that's the bulk, but that's not a lot of investment, right? If in the terms of your life and how much you can make, by the way, one policy can pay for that. If not, half a policy can do that. Now you got yourself into an independent freedom scale where, of course, there's a learning curve. Of course, you have to build your momentum. Of course, you have to learn all these things. And it's going to take a few months to absorb it all and become very fluent at it. But then once you have that stage, the rest is history. Because now you need to be more adept to the sales cycles, to sales skills, to prospecting, to canvassing, to where to find the business. Now you get to the deep stuff, which has nothing to do with the insurance part. It just being a good salesperson and understanding the concept, which, by the way, Tom, I do remember we had that discussion in a previous show about how your approach is, and it's a great approach where you actually really consult and advise people, and you don't force people into products. But that's the key. But the key here is that you transit into a role where you can make money. Now, the money that you can make. So most people, they want to make 6 digits, right? 6 figures. And, some people struggle to get there. This is one industry where 6 digits, 6 figures can be almost guaranteed. There is not a good agent that is out there that's not making 6 figures, bottom line. I mean, Tom, correct me if I'm wrong.
No, I agree with you. And on the contrary, there's no limit, actually. You can make an unlimited number, just the number of people you're willing to help and can find them and size them. Yeah, I agree with you.
And by the way, to your point, sky's the limit, which means that depends how much you put into it, how you're going to work it. And this is just you as an independent producer yourself, like a sole producer. Now, Tom took it to the next level. He went not just being solely working under somebody. Now he started his own agency. Under his agency, he can also have producers under him. And in that case, there is not only the work that he does, he gets paid for, but now he also gets paid on overrides, right, Tom? Is that
correct?
Right.
Thus, you're incentivized to help those people succeed as well. But you're exactly right. Overrides or something. Your upline, the people above you they're incentivized to help you succeed.
There you go. So folks, right now we've covered the idea of the investment here, the potential freedom and luxury of life that you might have, the fact that you're translated from being you Inc. to you Inc. The difference is, yes, the other ones are gonna guarantee you that you're gonna have a paycheck that you're gonna get every 2 weeks or every other week, whatever. In this case, you might wonder, like, well, this is independence commission only. Well, I actually tell this to agents all the time. The first 6 to 7 applications or enrollments or policies that you write, that's your basic, equivalent to the salary you got, when you work for a corporate carrier or any company. Then after that, the rest is all yours. That's your gravy and ice in the cake, and the sky's the limit from that point. So side by side, maybe one more policy to get your insurance coverages and all the benefits that you need to buy for your family. So and by the way, it doesn't end there, right, Tom? There is something that is another benefit of doing this. And that would be, there you go. I like that whole thing. Tell us about it.
Well, that's the recurring or the residual or the repeat income, because the policies that you get compensated to solve somebody's problem, their life insurance problem. Every year that policy is enforced, you also get something. Maybe it's not as big as your initial commission check, but you get something. And so really, I'm just trying to build my book of business as an individual producer. By the way, yes, I have a few people with me as well, but so I'm trying to build my individual producer book of business, and I get paid every year. That's, to me, that's another thing. Forgive me stepping back because you asked that. The mindset when you work for a company, you talked at length about that. You work for them and they pay you, but you really are working for them, for their success. You're paid a salary, but it's for them. When you're on your own, you're working for you. So I'm trying to build this book of business for myself. I'm not making anybody else some lucrative thing. I'm making me, and to your point, eventually my family. You can leave it as a legacy. But yeah, I make the circle because that's my favorite aspect of it. So in other words, whether it's the restaurant I mentioned or you're a heart surgeon, I think when you're not cooking meals, or if you're not cutting someone up and solving their problems, you're not getting paid on there. Where here you are getting paid. So that's personally my biggest challenge. I've gotten over it, I think, now, but you're working now for getting paid later. Now that you've been in it for years, I'm actually getting paid for work I already did before. So I'm kind of working for the future. So that's an interesting concept. But yes, I love the renewals and the residual income.
Well, thank you for that, Tom. I love that. Like you got me, you're reading me there. But that's the beauty of it, right? So the first thing is, by the way, I did this exercise. So, and Tom, you're talking about a diversified portfolio from life insurance to disability policies, long-term policies, Medicare policies, all that. And each one of them vary in pay scales. For example, in the Medicare space, I can give you an example of California and Jersey. They're like the highest paid states, in Medicare. New York and the national average right now in 2023 is going to be $600, $601 for somebody that's new to Medicare, and $301 for somebody that's moving from plan to plan or has already been in a managed care plan. In the life insurance, you get some nice chunk of dollars for every policy. Long-term, same thing. So there's different varieties of income possibilities based on the policies you carry and you sell. Now, the sweet spot is that, to your point, you're getting residuals. Now, it's maybe half of what you made the first year, but it's compound. Every year now, that member is still alive and still kicking and is still in that policy. You're going to get a cut of that. And if they're there 10 years, you're actually building, and you get paid 10 years for that member. Now, let's think about it. Year one, you have 100 members. Year two, you have another 100 members. You get paid half of the first year, and then now you have another 100% of this. Now, the next year, you get, another 100. In year three, you actually get 100% of everything average-wise, and it keeps going, and then it just adds up. So now you can literally be on a cruise ship. And I love cruising. That's why I mentioned cruising. But you can be on a cruise ship. You can be in the Bahamas. That thing that we all kind of dream about, being somewhere, having fun, and having some money come into your bank, and you can check your balance. You can do that. We did the exercise, actually. One time we had this debate, when I started the agency, and one agent, we looked at his profile and how many had contributed to a particular carrier in his time when he was captive or employed. He had about 500 applications. So when we transited, now, of course, those 500 applications was not his any longer, because once you're not, in the broker space or independent, that money is paid once, one commission cycle, and that's it. Had he been doing the same work as an independent, he would have had about 20 to 30,000 average month. Well, the number right now is skewed, but at least 20,000 a month guaranteed without him doing any new work. Year after year after year after year. This is just the Medicare policies. Now you add to it life policies, you add to it, the long-term care, disability, this, that. I mean, just do the numbers. I don't have to tell you. And if you do the research, you'll see these are not, far-fetched numbers. These are not fake numbers. You can do this. It's very easy. You can check out Tom's, website. I guarantee you'll know more about this. You check out our sites. You can, find out more about this. It is an opportunity. It is a career path. As a matter of fact, you can expand yourself to any level with this. I mean, some people take it to a level where they become what we refer to as a field marketing organization, or FML. And they are larger scale, and they have multiple sub-agencies under them, and they do a lot more work. They work with carriers. Their rates are different. So there's plenty of opportunity. And again, you don't have to worry. There's no overhead, because this you can run from your home. Literally, you can do seminars in this. You can go to a diner. You can go to a hotel conference room and book it, whatever. If you want to just get people for recruiting, or you do like training. Sometimes you can work through the carriers and or your companies that you sell. They'd be more than happy to facilitate locations where you can bring in your teams and your training. They do blitzes for you. They do different things for you. They can you can participate in programs such as lead, programs. You can participate in locations, where they can assign your team to, like for example, in some states you can go to Walmart during what we call the annual election period, like AEP in October through December. And you'll find booths within Walmart, and people actually are there. These are brokers or agents that are doing the work for multiple carriers. So the sky's the limit of where the money can be coming from. The more carriers you have, the more states you have, the more you're going to have. As an independent producer, now you have teams. Well, you expand your teams, the sky's the limit. Not only you're working and making on your own production, but you're also getting the override for each agent and you. And so and you still get overrides on those and residual income for that. So the opportunity is great. There was one day I actually posted something, and this guy says, "Stop giving people dreams." I'm like, are you joking, dude? I mean, why don't you just do some homework and you'll find out that I'm not joking. This is real. This is as real as it gets. I mean, when I got involved in this, the commissions were much lower and so on and so forth. But over the years, it just got bigger and bigger and better and better. And one of the reasons I stayed in corporate is just I made it to the higher scale in terms of hierarchy, which means the pay scale was a little more lucrative and stuff. Plus, it was just my ambition. I wanted to do some of that stuff, and I proved that to myself. And then ultimately, at a certain point, I started moving away from that and trying to get into the other side. Tom, you did exactly that. You worked enough, and eventually you decided to move on and do your thing, and you're doing it rather successfully. And by the way, you're doing more. I mean, the fact that you're doing this, going to podcasts and going to shows and talking about it. That's just another piece, right? You have the time to do this, and you are the time to share the wealth, the ideology, the know-how, and the way to do this. And also, it's an opportunity. I mean, people you're listening, if you're in the states where Tom is actually working, maybe reach out to Tom. Maybe he can help you find a way. And trust me, once you know this and you get into it, you'll be very thankful that you've heard this and you've actually taken the step. And here's the good news. There's nothing to lose. You can certainly sit down, have a talk, figure it out, see if this is going to be working for you. This is great for people on a part-time or full-time, by the way. That's the other thing. If you're doing already real estate, for example, this is ideal because real estate, as we all know, it's up and down. Sometimes you have to wait months before you get paid, right? That commission check is nice, but you have to wait for it. This is actually weekly, bi-weekly, depends on the carrier. Sometimes you actually get paid regular checks. So it's not even like you got to wait. There's some chargebacks if policies cancel, but you really are doing a good job. You are making money on the go. So Tom, what else would you tell us about this concept?
Well, there's two things. I got two things I want to bounce off some remarks you said. Number one, another trend. We've mentioned the Great Resignation. Another one is digital nomads. To your point, if someone wants, like you said, live on a cruise ship, there's actually people know you can kind of do this from wherever. Now, if you're only licensed in your current state, it becomes maybe more challenge. But my point is, you can only work that state, perhaps. But all I'm saying is, people hear about digital nomads. To me, this is an industry that would facilitate that because you don't have to necessarily be there. Now, having said that, sometimes depending on your client base, so like I will go and meet my client where they need. I will go to their residence. I'll meet them somewhere. But if your client base, if you can serve them digitally, remotely via Zoom, you can do digital nomad. That's one thing I wanted to mention. The other thing, people that are in sales, if you're selling vacuum cleaners door to door, or if you're selling luxury cars, to me, you've got only a couple models. And what if that's simply not in someone's price range? Life insurance, we can easily adjust that. So, hello, sir or ma'am, you need some life insurance. How much do you need? That is, depending on how many kids you have, you want to have enough. But my point is, if you need $50,000, or if you need $500,000, or if you need whatever size they need, we can show them the pricing, or they can say, you know what, I can only do $100 a month. Okay, well, let me put in your zip code. Do you smoke or use any tobacco product? What's your age, date of birth? I can put that in. $200 will give you this. It'll give you a $78,000 life insurance. So my point is, like, I don't, per previous marks, I don't like to sell. I prefer to have conversations. But my point is, I guess, it's naive to me to say it's easy. But my point is that I don't have to talk someone into getting something they don't want. If they want, we can size it to them. So I just wanted to make those two remarks: digital nomad, and there's a size for everybody.
No, but thank you. You made a great point. First of all, you're right. I mean, you could be in real estate. Real estate is still limited to territories, right? And also inventory can be limited, depends on where you are.
Yeah.
Cars also, I mean, recently after the pandemic, cars are scarce and the inventory is low and it's very difficult. And also if you go to one brand, is one brand. I mean, that's all they have, right? Used or new, but it may be a lease or finance. So you're still limited. And by the way, you can still do that. There's nothing wrong. You can do that job.
Yeah.
And test out, take life and health and accident and health, for a run. Again, do it one day a week, twice a week. You think about it this way. How much does it, take for you to sell one car, and how much do you make a commission? Let's say it's $1,000. How many apps do you need, or enrollments or policies you need to write, in 1 week to do that? Trust me, you will make more money doing it.
Maybe only one, right? Depending on the size.
Exactly. So that's how easy. Now, how hard is it to sell one of those policies? Not at all. You don't have to be super skilled in sales. Obviously, it would help you find business differently because the way you approach things and where to go when you find your networking and all that makes a difference. Now, here's the thing, you're not biased. You're not steering to one product. As a matter of fact, the best agents, they have all the products in their state. So if you work in Texas, you have all the Texas policies that you can have with the different carriers, whether for this product or this product, Medicare, long-term care, whatever, life. And so if I'm sitting, again, I said this earlier, if you sit in front of someone, it's a matter of let me know what you need. To your point, you can customize it to any effect they want and any outcome that they want. So what would they even, have any choices? Once you're in front of them, it's done. It's over. They're walking. I tell this to the agent, you are not going to lose one application. So here's what happens, for example, in the captive world, I have agents, they work for one plan, right? And so when they work for one plan, they only can sell that plan. So let's say a doctor is not in there. I'm talking just Medicare. A doctor is not in network. A drug is not covered in the formulary. Well, that sale is lost. So now they'll have to go somewhere else, right? And that person cannot help them somewhere else. But the same person being an independent broker or an agent, they can have all the other carriers and stuff. So they talk about plan A. Okay, the plan A is not going to work. The doctor is not there. Plan B, the formula is not there. Plan C has everything else. And so the doctors are there, the formula is good, everything is good, the benefits are rich, the co-pays are low, boom, bingo, we got a deal. And they just put a policy. They're walking away with somebody, that is signed. So they cannot possibly go home without writing business. That's the benefit of doing this versus the other way. Now, there's merits to both. One comes, again, with a secured salary, with benefits and so on and so forth, but no risk, no reward, right? In business, if you wait for a paycheck, well, that's, again, we've heard this, you probably heard this. It's a drug that we promised, right? That keeps us going, day after day to get that check. Well, you can do that, or you can just write your own check. And you can write your own check 7 days a week, 5 days a week, 2 days a week, depends how you do it. I mean, you work when you need to, you can work 1 week in a month, 1 week in, 1 week out, and you can still push enough business to just sustain the whole month for you. That's the other part. You want to take time. You don't have to get permission from anyone, right? You just go. And you said digital nomads. Again, with technology today, by the way, a lot of these policies, you don't even have to. You can meet with people in a Zoom version or some sort of a remote, communication. Then you can send them. There's sites that you send them links to. They go in, they check, they love the stuff. They just do the policy. They can do it. You can do a quote for them. They'll take the quote. They know what's up. Boom, boom. Okay, I want this policy. They can sign right there and roll, boom, and you get credits. Done. Policy is submitted. You're cool. You get a check. That's as simple as that. And again, now you add all your future, business that comes along with it. It's a win-win. There is no loss here, folks. This is the part. So we're bringing to you guys. If this is new to you, you probably, by the way, it might not be new. You've heard live. You've heard this. Maybe you just have not entertained doing, this as your career path or as an entrepreneur business opportunity. It is a business opportunity. More than a job opportunity. This is your business. This is you, Inc., like I said, I use Me Inc. for everything, including when I work for corporate, but this is You Inc. for real, because this is not somebody else. You're not contributing to their wealth. Yes, you might be actually, the policies you write, the company is making money, right? So they're still making their money. The carriers are happy. They want us. Actually, matter of fact, they want more brokers. They want more agents, because the more out there, the more opportunities, the more sales they get. So companies are more than happy to sponsor you and give you different leads, different things, and different benefits to keep you motivated and do stuff. In addition to your commissions, these companies do serve other purposes in the marketing dollars and other things to support your business. So there is no loss, folks. You just have to be busy. You just have to be outgoing. You have to be more flexible. You have to learn your stuff, and be more, to your point, Tom, you do a great job about defining the products, understanding them, make sure that you understand what the customers want, and then the rest is history. You do it that way, you succeed. So Tom, what else?
You've done a great job. I will mark briefly to your point. The carriers will even support me as well sometimes if there's some complexity, because they want the sale. If there's something that I can't handle, there's a unique circumstance, they want to help. So they have internal people that will support. That's one thing. And then the other thing you've talked about, because I always worked and my parents were not entrepreneurs, I really didn't understand. I only know about being an employee for the long time. So there's a bunch of fundamental differences between being an employee, a W-2, and the 1099. And so this is I hate to use that word. This is a low barrier to entry way to become an entrepreneur. So you can start your own business and you can take the full advantage of that. And one of the ways I like to say is the itemized deduction, all the things that become a business expense. I'd love for you to talk a little bit more about that. But to me, I don't know if we've talked about that enough, that we've said it's your business, but you might want to elaborate on how beneficial it is to be an entrepreneur instead of employee, besides, just building your own wealth. What are some of the benefits you might want to articulate to the audience?
Well, again, so Tom, you just mentioned something about, a lot of deductions now. W-9, you're independent, right? So you pay your own taxes. So you're entitled to actually, cover some things under your tax. So you talk to your CPA, and the CPA can actually give you all the guidance of what's covered, what's not covered. But under an independent structure, you don't have to pay tax in advance. You just have to manage your portfolio correctly, your finances. So every quarter, you'll just allocate a certain amount of dollars. And then you have deductions that you have to submit. So your car, your mileage, your meals, you're meeting, customers, you're paying for things. So all those things are now going to add up for you. And those are all beneficial things. So there is, you'll probably be on the upside, than the downside when it comes to your bottom line. So there is a way to do this correctly. Again, we're not going to give advice on like the IRS, rules and stuff.
No.
But that's where you have, again, your CPAs. You check with them. They'll give you all the guidance. Typically, you're going to have to create some sort of LLC or something, so you can have some protection. Now, Tom, you mentioned something earlier important about the E&O. So errors and omissions policies are important. Now, you might ask, like, well, why do I need this? People sue. These days, people can sue for anything. So you have a policy. Doesn't matter. You might have promised them one thing. They don't have something. They don't get covered. They get hurt, whatever the case may be. That policy covers you. If you don't work for a company directly, you're not covered under that carrier. So you need this policy. By the way, it's mandatory. Whether you like it or not, you have to have it. They're not cheap. I mean, they're not expensive, rather. They're very cheap policies. And you can get $1 million to $2 million. Sometimes they ask for a $2 million kind of umbrella policy, whatever. But those are things that you can discuss with your carriers. Sometimes if you have one policy, it could be good for everybody. So you don't have to buy multiple policies. You just find which is the highest level that you can have, and then you buy that. Also, there's another advantage. A lot of this is co-op. So basically, some of these costs that you get into, that you spend, can be split between you and the carriers. So in the Medicare space, it's very common that FMO agencies and carriers split costs. So you will have some offset, and subsidy of the expenses, whether it's business cards, some companies will even, chip in for your location. Believe it or not, you can get space from them. They can give you vehicles and stuff like that. They can sponsor events for you. So you have resources. You just have to work them, leverage them to your advantage, and the rest is history. So again, you got tax, benefits, you got freedom benefits, you have financial freedom benefit, you have the ability to get additional dollars and investments in your operation. Even recruiting, for somebody like Tom, he has an agency. You can have some of these folks can actually sponsor some of these gatherings, and maybe after hours, some drinks, whatever, happy hours, all this stuff. And people actually do come in to find out about the opportunity. And some companies even facilitate the education part, where they actually sponsor those classes. where you can get your license, you don't have to cost you anything. So again, depends on what state you are, who you're dealing with. This can be a great opportunity, right? And there is no downside to it. It's all upside. But you have to be able and willing, ready to make that transition and commit to this. And if you do it right from the minute you start in the field doing whatever, selling policies, you're going to start seeing results. Now, obviously, it's a number game. You got to talk to a lot of people, and you have to talk to the right ones, and you'll be able to close as many as that. Now, if you set your target for 1 or 2 policies a day, it's very attainable. You can. And I do the numbers. You do 20 days. You don't have to do weekends. Do 20 days. That's a lot of policies. And if you do that in digits, it's going to add up very quickly. And so again, the numbers are just there. You just have to be in it to win it, right? If you're not in this game, you're not going to be in the game. Be in the game will cost something. By the way, the education itself, we're talking a few hours. In less than a week, you can have your life and health courses done. Okay. So in a week time, and even when you want to certify for these carriers, another maybe a week or 2 weeks tops to actually go to all their processes, sub-trainings and trainings and all the stuff. And most of it is done online. So within a month, okay, at max. And this is if you're doing live and health and everything else. You can run all the gamut of every single product that you have in your area. And now you're an expert in all of them. And by the way, that's the other thing. You don't have to memorize everything, because you're going to have access electronically to every information. And you can, as long as you know how to manipulate and maneuver the data and expose the data correctly and share it with people, you should be able to answer questions. To your point, Tom, these carriers, doesn't matter, life or insurance, health insurance, they all have support, and they all have other folks that could, give you the additional help that you need if you need to assist someone. So the system is there for you to help you. Tom, you had something.
Yeah, I got one more. I would be remiss. I don't want to talk a lot more about it, but I had a great story. The other thing is referrals and partnership. So there's a lady I've known a few years, met her through networking. She's a property and casualty person. She is kind of captive. She's one of the major folks that you might see on the corner, but they are allowed to look at other policies as well. One of my Medicare clients calls me and says, "Hey, do you do PNC?" No, I don't, but I've got a trusted partner that I feel comfortable sharing. I send it over, and that lady informs me today, yes, I'm going to help her out. I'm going to save your client money. So that's just a feel-good story. I took some training this past week, and one of the things the person said was, "Are you your client's first phone call?" And so in a certain way, that was just good. In other words, I didn't make the sale there in that instance. She was already my client, but the property and casualty lady, she loves me. So that's that's a cliche, but it's a win-win-win, right? My client won because they're going to save some money on their home and auto, use it by someone they found, at least they trust. And so I just wanted to kind of share that, because I do track where my new clients and customers come from. And number 2 for me is networking or networking. Really, that's referrals too. So I've got client referrals, but networking. So it's important to network. So people that they're subject matter experts in their thing. And like one of my big referrals a year or two ago was from a roofer. Well, that roofer had put on the roof of a senior living communities. And so he sent me in there. And so I was able to talk to many people about Medicare because of the roofer. So you never know how you can just help each other, other small business people. So I just want to mention that feel good story kind of in closing.
Well, no, thank you. We have some time. And just to add to that. So this is more about the sales skills and the ability to develop business, right? So business development here. And the sky's the limit of that, because first of all, everybody that's living that we come across on a day-to-day basis, either on the Medicare side, especially for insurance policies, we know someone that has Medicare, or we know someone who knows someone that has Medicare, or at that age where they need some clarity and some advice. So again, everybody needs to know what you do for a living, and everybody needs to have your gift cards left and right. They don't cost much. Or I love what you have a QR code, scan this, save it, right? So the bottom line is, now with technology, you can do a lot of ways to share. So that's one. That's a big example that you stated about other types of insurers or other agencies and products that they have. So PNC is different, right? So cars and homes or whatever. But, they have clientele that probably can be the best client for you, because if they have a home, they might need to have some security. So maybe a life policy can make a difference. Long disability can make a difference. If they're at an age where now they have to worry about their health, Medicare comes in handy. So you don't know. So, and by the way, vice versa. She hooks you up, you hook her up. You come across, by the way, do you do PS? No, I don't, but let me have my friend. That's the other, word of mouth. And then you said something powerful about you being the number one, the first call. See, that's the other thing. If most people make the mistake, they want to do a quick kill, a quick fix, boom, boom, I get a deal and move on. No, you don't do that. You follow up with your members, you become friends with them, you check in on them, and you ask the question, hey, by the way, if you know someone, please send it my way. There's nothing wrong with that. That's actually, you don't want to leave until you ask for, a referral. That's rule number one in sales. You ask for a referral. Well, not rule number one, but one of the rules in the top 10, but so that's something that you have to do. But again, expanding, the horizon for you. Make sure that people call you for advice, period. When it comes to insurance, they come to you. And by the way, you might not cover all the time. For example, let's say you didn't do Medicare. Now you know me. You're going to call me and say, hey, John, can you help me out with this? I may not be able to help them, but I'll guide them towards someone who can. The bottom line is we make sure that person gets a full circle and gets whatever they requested. Ultimately, they'll be very happy. That's the other thing. Honesty is another one. If you work with them with honesty and you always deliver and you don't fake them, you don't give them bad stuff, they'll come back to you and they'll say, hey, listen, you don't want to deal with anybody. And it's like when I first started buying my cars, they were not new. So I used to buy all used cars and I get problems. Finding the right mechanic was a pain. So it's the same thing. But when you find that good mechanic, that's it. You send everybody to me. Right. Same thing. We talked about CPAs. You find the right CPA, you want everybody to go to CPA. You have a good lawyer, you send everybody to that lawyer. You have an insurance person, you send them to the insurance person. So that's the key. You want to be that person. When they think about insurance, they call you. They think about real estate. They by the way, even that, you make friends with the real estate folks, right? And they have similar. I mean, again, these are all people that are kind of operating within the same realm, the same kind of audiences. So the chances are that you're going to be cross sharing some, potential clientele is very common. It's very, possible, and it's definitely going to happen. So again, they need to know, make friends, doing the stuff like what you're doing right now. I mean, on podcasts, on shows, you're doing the stuff, going on the road, sharing stuff. You're in Texas, right?
Correct.
Right. And you've been doing this, but you promote in different states because that's where you service, right? And people are listening all over the world. So some people may, I don't know, maybe coming into the States. I don't know. They might be looking at a career path here. I don't know. But the fact is, you don't know who's going to benefit from this. Maybe not today, maybe 5 years from now. Maybe someone just lost their opportunity, their job, whatever company shut down, like it happened to me. Oh my God, what am I going to do? You hear this, boom, you get started. And by the way, every state has an easy way to do this, and you can just really get into this course and things like that. Like I said, it's online. You don't even have to go to places these days. It's all easy to access. There's a lot of online courses. Some of these online courses are actually available 50 states. You just go to one site, click on it, and then you pick your state, the course you want, and then you're in the course. You finish your hours, you take the state exam, you book it around there and done. So there's so many things you can do here to make a switch. Or you can even attempt this to have an additional source of income. That's the other thing. Some people, they want their career because they want the benefit. Let's say you have a condition, medical thing that you need some good benefits, right? Let's just say, or you're in college and you're doing a master's degree and there's tuition reimbursement that you're not going to get. And you want to do something on the side to just, add some value, some income to you. Why not? You have a project that you want to finish sooner. You want to finish your house, whatever. You want to refurbish your house. You want to do some project, you have kids in college that you want to send and you want some. This is a good way to get you additional income. But trust me, once you're in it, you're going to say, damn, everything else, because this is good. I'm just going to, put full-time here. You start part-time, you go full-time. Some people have some back end, some funding, and they can actually sustain a couple of months. If you do this correctly, the first month is probably the hardest because that's where the education and everything getting stabilized. The second month, you start building your business. The third month, you start seeing the fruits. That's the longest you could probably take. Now, of course, if you don't do your due diligence, you take your time for everything, it may take longer. But if you really are serious about this, you can be like, for example, accident and health, 20 hours in New York. And by the way, so that's I'm saying New York. So other state may be about the same or just up and down a couple hours. And it doesn't matter. You want to sell the other state, you just go online, pick the other state. And by the way, there's a national insurance producer registry. You just NIPR or NIBR. You click on there, you pick a state, you pay the fees, and you're right there. Boom, you're done. You got a license in another state, and so on and so forth. If you start an LLC or a corporation, you can also incorporate that agency and have its own license, because that's the other thing you have to worry about. Not only you as the agent or the actual producer, if you have a corporation, your corporation also has to be a producer because that's the corporation that's going to be appointed with some of these carriers. So again, depending on your circumstances, you might want to have to look at the options. But these are all things that you can discover as you learn more about this. Obviously, we're not going to cover it all today, but these are things that, of course, if you're in the states where Tom serves, the community, please reach out to Tom, and he'll be able to guide you, and maybe you can get you under Tom's umbrella. And obviously, he has the experience. Now, remember, he's only been doing this 4 years, but you know what? That's a long time. Year one, it's difficult. Year two becomes easy. Year three, it's all, it's just a picnic, right? Now, of course, you keep building. It doesn't until he stops working. And by the way, that's the good news about this. When he decides to stop, the money's not going to stop. So as long as he has clients, he's going to get paid. And that's a sweet piece about this business. It doesn't end. So make sure you look into it. This is a very lucrative industry level. Again, the education is not grandiose. You don't have to have masters and PhDs to do this and make this kind of money. By the way, please, if you want to have masters and PhD, go for it. We're not against that. I mean, the more the merrier. Maybe that can help you do a lot more. But if your goal is to pay the bills, make some money, have freedom, and do this stuff, be business for owner level, you can do this. Your education is not going to be misplaced. It's there for you. Actually, it's going to help you. The more you have your skills, those skills are going to be applicable to this business, and you can expand better, right? And have more opportunities and grow different. Yes, Tom.
So something you said there, I think, is another uniqueness of this business. Say I want to retire. I've got this book of business that's a cash generating thing. So it's relatively easy to sell, number one. You're going to sell your restaurant, maybe you can, but it's hard. But so a book of business, you can buy some. Maybe I've just got Medicare. Maybe you only want my Medicare. I can do that. And then the other thing is, I did do the LLC. My son has his license. Actually, if I died tomorrow, my son could go ahead and work this. He actually still works in corporate America. But I think to your point, it lends itself to estate planning or leaving a legacy. It's an easy business to do that with. I'll say that. So I just want to make that point based on your remarks there.
No, thank you. And that's a great point, because you do actually, the book of business is mobile and it's actually willable, and you can do a lot of things with it. And so it is alive. There is actually clauses in most of the carriers where you can actually turn your book of business to somebody else. So there is protection and there is availability and flexibility. So it's just like there's so much stuff about this that is all beneficial. I can't think of a bad thing. I mean, the only bad thing is just it's the work. You still got to work, right? But you're going to do it regardless. Sometimes you put a lot more work in a company, in a corporation, and stuff like that, which is nothing wrong with that. But again, you don't know where that's going to take. It could be 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. And then when you leave that company, whether it's voluntary or involuntary, you might have whatever is left for you to show for is whatever compensation you were given during the time you were there. Sometimes you get a thank you, sometimes you get a goodbye party, sometimes you get none. So if you look at it from that angle, so you gave them blood, they gave you compensation for your blood, and that's about it. Here, you invest in yourself 100%. There is nobody else that went in except you and your family, and that's really the joy of this. So again. Something to think about. I mean, it's maybe we're just kind of clicking some of your sparks in the brain here, and you're like, poof, eureka! I got those little bulbs going up right now. But you know what? Again, similarly, real estate, same thing. If you want to do real estate, that's easier, more common, a lot easier, I would say, course-wise and process, but very similar, right? Again, you're doing PNC, you're doing real estate. This is an ideal, segue to. This is an ideal continuation of what you do. Another license is not going to be hurting you. Another license under your belt is only another opportunity to make money, right? What you do with it, that's the other thing. I always say, get the license. You never know when you're going to need it. Just hold on to it. Now, don't lose it. You have to renew these licenses every 2 years. So if you drop the license, eventually you have to take the state exam again in the course. You don't want to do that because it is just a natural process. Eventually, we get tired of taking exams and tests and stuff. So when you get it done, just hold on to it, pay your fees, do your continuing education hours requirements, and maintain your license for life until the day you retire. But don't lose it. But once you have that, it's a card, right? It's something that you can get out of jail free card type of thing. When you're ready, you cash it in, and you'll find an opportunity. It's like having your doomsday, bug out bag, having ready, to survive. If you don't have it, and maybe it's an opportunity, and laws change over time too. That could be more difficult, over the years. So If you have it, you typically grandfathered in for the most part. Maybe you have to just take differential, classes, whatever. But it is still worth having. You don't lose anything by having it. Except, by the way, worst case, you're gonna learn something, that you can use in life, not even into financial gain, but just knowing the concept. Maybe you will learn it for yourself because you're gonna need some of these services eventually in your life. Or you can help someone in the family with that. That's the other thing. If you're going to help them without being getting paid, you might as well get the license and just get some money out of it. By the way, you could do it. You can help your family, your friends, get the stuff. They're the first customers that you reach out to. And mostly they're going to need it. So now guess what? You can do it for free or you can do it. And it's not like they're going to pay you. The company is going to pay you. So if they're going to buy it with somebody else, might as well benefit from it. So that's all I have to say. Tom.
2 more remarks because you brought this to mind, comparing both real estate and then rental property. I'm not an expert in either one of those, but for example, what my perception is, this is, to your point, it's similar to getting a real estate license, but I think it's easier again. That is, I think it costs less. And I think my understanding is if you want to practice in another state, then you have to get a license taken exam. I don't know all about that. My point is this is much easier. So I think it's a lower cost thing, easier to get and easier to be portable. So that's one thing. And then we already kind of talked about the difference of just how you can sell daily compared to waiting for the big sale. Then the other thing, a lot of people, and I've not done this, is want rental properties. In a certain way, in my mind, I kind of think it depends on the size of your insurance policy, but X number of insurance policies, maybe it's 20, whatever the number is, are kind of the equivalent to one rental home. That is, if you own a rental home, well, then it generates revenue for you. But the thing on a rental home is, and there may be some things you can deduct because it's similar, right? You get, hey, I got rental property. So you get to deduct some things and you've got this revenue. It's similar, but there's a lot of headaches also with rental property that you kind of don't have here, and so I compare them. So it depends upon how big, if you got 1, 3, 2, 2, 2, just a 3-bedroom, 3-car, 2-car garage. And I don't know how many life insurance, Medicare policies you have to sell, depends on your state to get that net. But, there's a lot of cost also on that rental property, right? Periodically, there's really no cost for me on that X number of policy. I just enroll the people and I get it. So I like to kind of compare those. So if you're interested in real estate, it's even an easy, dip your foot in it this way. Get some, sometimes I call them micro rental properties because I've never dabbled in it. Just build up a bunch of those and you can figure out how many you need to equate how many X $100 a month you need from the rental property without the headaches and the guy calling you saying my AC broke. Oh crap! And you got to throw 10K. So I just want to make those kind of comparisons.
No, thank you. I can relate to that. I mean, I did own properties in the past, and you know what? One of the biggest problems is you have to deal with tenants. You have to go there. Things break the wrong time, and you have to fix it, and it's on you. It can be minor stuff, it can be major. It's just a headache, and sometimes you have to hire somebody to do the work, and sometimes you get the wrong contractor. It could be a nightmare. Also, something you mentioned. So there is reciprocity in real estate in some states, but not all states have the same. So in some states, you have to take the state exam again, which means it's more difficult. In insurance, you don't. One state, all non-residents on the rest, and you're done. And by the way, just so you know, a lot of companies use. That's the other thing. That even if you don't want to do this, for you direct, you can work as a call center type of insurance agent. And you can work literally from your home, and you can sell different policies from 50 states. It just, as long as you have the licenses, you can do it. So that's the lowest level if you want to consider doing this and just having a cushious kind of job and working for a company that has multiple providers in different states. That's another way to do it. But it doesn't matter. You have opportunities. You're right as far as the income size and comparison to real estate. Obviously, real estate, there's different levels. There's commercial, there's rentals, and there's the residential. Either way, they vary. I mean, rentals are quicker in terms of income compared to residential and commercial. But the payouts are different. I mean, commercial is big bucks. When you actually make a deal, it's a big deal. So there's some short money or little money and medium money and large money. But again, time frames between the time you start a deal and how many listings and how many showings and blah, 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 before you actually get a con. There's a lot of legal stuff that gets in between. Sometimes mortgages don't pan out, and then people back off these deals, and then you have to wait, and you lose the time frame when you're listing, for example, real estate. So there's difficulty with that. Here, there's nothing really. The only thing that you might have to consider is that maybe chargebacks. Usually, people have a couple of days, rescission type of period, 3 days, I think, in most of the states, and business days, I believe. And then when you're done with that, it's over. They're locked into the policy. They have some clauses to come out, whatever, but those are different things. We're not going to talk about the intricate stuff here, but the other part is that there are chargebacks. So if someone somehow cancels a policy eventually, you'll get charged back. In the Medicare space, it's 90 days. So if a person drops within 90 days, you will have to actually pay back the money. But the way you cannot think about that way, because the way you look at it is like you got to keep putting 20, 30 a month. One drops. And by the way, the chances of that one dropping may be because of that, of moving out of the area, whatever, or maybe a carrier is not there. In the broker world, there's a very good retention rate. The disenrollments are very minimum because the people are not forced into a plan. When they make that decision, they've informed properly and they have all the choices, so they knew what they're selecting up front. So the chances for them to change their mind is almost, slim to none. It's not going to have that problem. So I just wanted to clarify that.
That's a great point. And nobody likes chargeback, but in a certain way, it makes sense, right? Because it's kind of a good problem to have in that apparently I got paid quickly. So I enrolled someone in a policy, I got paid real quickly. And if they drop almost right away, well, doggone it, maybe I do need to give that money back. That's what it is, And there's also kind of the whole fraud thing where it's very highly regulated and we try to avoid it. We try to behave ourselves. There's a small subset of people who get in this and try to do fraud stuff. So somebody could be playing, they can play into some games. So no one likes chargeback, but it's just that it exists. And so, yeah, there's that slight possibility.
Tom, thank you for bringing that. I mean, we still have a couple minutes, and that's a very good point, maybe to close the session today. But compliance is key. These are highly regulated environments. This is not like I can just get into this, and that's why we are, like, for example, my agents, I refer to them as licensed benefit advisors. So we purposely use the word license because it creates some credibility. These are not just shady, as expected potential salespeople, because we know in sales, we're almost hated everywhere because we have that connotation that we sell. This is not about being salesy. This is about being an advisor of insurance and a professional advisor. This is, known as a profession. And really there's so much regulation behind it. That's why you have to go to those courses. Believe me, even the state, you have fingerprints and there's all kind of stuff that goes with that. So you can't really do bad things. And if you do bad things, most of these are regulated by the states and or the federal, depending on what level you're talking about, what kind of policy. So there is a lot of regulations, a lot of oversight, and you don't want to miss. Now, of course, you go through the courses, so your rules, your laws, your particular state, the federal laws that there's fraud, waste, and abuse that's also included in that. So there's a whole bunch of stuff that you're going to cover in your regulations and certifications. And every carrier you'll go through their own scrutiny. And there's background checks on these things too. So there's a lot of stuff that can happen. Very few people cannot be allowed into this if they have something that is preventing them. And by the way, even if I've had cases where someone, for example, had a case, of some sort of criminal, situation that happened in the past. Some of these things can be cleared through the court system, and as long as you get a discharge from whatever, you can submit and still be good. So there's some level of scrutiny that has to be in place, but for the most part, if you're just doing your job, you're a good, law-abiding citizen, you're not going to have any problems. By the way, that's the other thing. The age is as early as I think 18 for the most part. So that's the other thing. You can literally just finish high school and be able to actually get into this business. By the age of 30, you can be a millionaire if you wanted to. I mean, I make it sound that funny, but it's not as funny. It's as real as it can be.
That happens.
Yeah, you can say, well, you guys didn't do it. Well, we had different courses in our lives, and we stumbled into this, and we did, kind of detour. And I'm not complaining. I'm doing good, and so it's done. But the fact is, listen, if you do better than us, that's good. That's better for you. I mean, especially if you do it based on this show, we'll be more than happy to know that someone actually made it. That would be awesome. We will love you for that. And you know what? We will encourage you from this platform here. So go for it, baby. Don't worry about it. But the fact is there potential? Yes. Bottom line. So we can talk about it for hours. This is an opportunity where each and everyone watching and listening right now, if you're in the States, this is a career path. This is a business opportunity. This is, a freedom key, a freedom gate to you, to your life, to doing the best thing. You can set up the hours. You can work half days. You don't have to work 9 to 5, and commute to your point, a couple hours each path. You can do this a few hours a day. Knock it out. If you plan it correctly, there's a lot of, obviously with technology, with skills, with proper territory management, with proper, customer base, referrals, if you can guarantee some channels that can send you business and constant referral, sources, you don't even have to work hard. You just have to work smart, and it would work for you. All right. So that's it for me. Tom, anything to wrap up today's show?
Just 3 nuggets I will offer since I'm fresh off of this training in the industry. First, one of my takeaways was life insurance is more like love insurance. That just sounds good. And if people think about it, I think they can understand taking care of your loved ones when you depart eventually. The second one they said was, you're not a life insurance agent, you're a life-changing agent. And that can be both by getting people into this career, or that's the thing. There are plenty of stories of this thing about how people were able to walk up and give a family a check at a funeral. They were invited, to your point, so there was a relationship clearly there. And that's what a great thing to do, right? To go up and do that. And the third thing, kind of what you're doing right here, and I like this one, it was a podcast a day keeps poverty away. I'd not heard that, and I like that one. So those are my 3 nuggets. I'll close for you.
I love that. Actually, that's a good one. I mean, we used to have, one a day keeps the manager away. No, I love that, the podcast one.
And I wish I could credit the guy's names right here in front of me. It doesn't have, I'd have to dig it up, but those are from 3 different people, but I enjoyed those quotes from those people.
Listen, I mean, information you receive, we share it. Thousands of people eventually will receive it. They'll share it with another 1,000 before you know it. It's a chain reaction, and this becomes a common, denominator, common, statement that everybody is using. And that's how it is, right? So somebody made a quote somewhere, stated something, and now it's viral. And please take it, folks, out there. But you're right, love, life changing. Again, these are just different mindsets, right? So that's all there is. It takes away the negativity and it focuses on the positivity. Again, nobody's forced to do these things. It is informed decisions. Not everybody, it's not for everyone, but it should be for everyone. Everybody should have some sort of policy, to cover this stuff. We need policies in this world that we live in because there are no guarantees, right? And you invest in something. As long as you know how you do it, what's the outcome, and there's no, red lines that you missed or whatever, the rest is history. Everything can work how you want. Tom, it's been another great session. Thank you for this exchange. I think we've covered a lot of grounds together here, and hopefully people will benefit from this session. Hopefully some of them will call you. You can call me too. I can guide you to places where you can actually get this stuff. But we're here to help. We're here to kind of serve and just to enlighten people. Again, educate, enlighten, inspire, and motivate. That's our mission here. Tom?
Nothing else, Hurricane. I've enjoyed it as I always do. Thanks very much for having me on. And goodbye to everybody in your audience.
All right. Well, thank you, folks, for being with us today, for watching and listening. We'll be talking soon. New day, new show, new topic, new guest. Bye for now.